Hey there, everybody. Welcome in. This is Dr. Christine Kaczmar. You are listening to Smart Digestion Radio, and today's guest, Irving Aquino.
What do you get when you cross Albert Einstein with digestive enzymes and a fistful of kale? Smart Digestion Radio with Dr. Christine Kaczmar, the all things diet, nutrition, vitality show for the wellness-minded.
All right, everyone. I am pleased to introduce my next guest, Irving Aquino. Irving, I discovered Irving on Twitter, of all places, believe it or not. And I brought Irving on the Smart Digestion podcast because I totally respect the information that he is aware of. The interesting thing is, he's not a doctor. He's not some kind of practitioner somewhere in the wellness field, but he is a very astute person, as everyone listening should be, about trying to figure out what you need to weed through in the media and so forth to know what the truth is. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to do something that most podcasts don't do. I'm going to have someone on here, just like the rest of us, who has information that we could all utilize. So with that, welcome, Irving.
Hi, Michelle.
All right, so what I want to do first is have you just give a couple of sentences about you, let us know a little bit about Irving, and then I'm going to jump into the heartbeat round with you.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about you, Irv.
Well, I first started off learning about the banking system and economy and finance, and that was something that really interested me. And along that way, I ran into nutrition information, and it was something that caught my attention, but it never really was something that I said, wow, I'm going to do this the next day, or wow, I'm going to incorporate this in my life. But it did definitely stay in my thoughts as I was learning more and more about other stuff. And that was back in 2010. Mm-hmm. Eventually, in 2011 is when I really got serious into it, where I started actually applying the things that I learned, and I would see results within a reasonable amount of time. A lot of that time would be like either within a month, within 2 months. I would say most often 2 months. And a lot of this stuff incorporated eating different foods, different nutrition regimens, exercise regimens. Mm-hmm. And I guess the biggest thing that really made me passionate about it is that I asked myself, why don't more people know about this? Why don't more people apply it into their lives? And why isn't it being taught in healthcare?
Mm-hmm. I couldn't agree with you more. So let's kind of put it right there for just a second. We're going to go right back into it. But I want to get the audience to know a little bit more about Irving. So let's go into the heartbeat round so that we can get a little bit more of a reaction about what you're all about. Does that sound cool?
Yeah, that sounds perfect.
All right, so here it goes. Question number 1. What is your favorite guilty pleasure?
I would say dark chocolate for sure.
Awesome.
I just can't live without it.
All right, perfect. Brussels sprouts or broccoli?
I would say broccoli, but I'm open to Brussels sprouts. I haven't tried them in a long time.
Yeah. And what's your favorite movie ever?
Ever. That's a hard one, but I would say either Gladiator or Man on Fire.
Man on Fire.
I don't know, I just like those tragic ending movies.
I've never heard of Man on Fire. Who's in that? Anyone I know?
What's that guy's name? He's a really good actor.
I'll just look it up. That's okay.
Okay.
All right. So, what is your favorite book, or among your favorite books?
Some of my favorite books. There's a book called The GAPS Diet. I think that's the name of it. It's by a nutritionist that she talks about the important things, the important benefits of eating fermented foods. So that's something I've been reading lately.
It's called the GAPS Diet?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. I love that. And what would your last meal be? Not to be morbid, but what would your last meal be?
My last meal would have dark chocolate, whey protein, and a banana.
Wow, are you a vegetarian?
No, I'm not, believe it or not, but I eat a lot like a vegetarian, but I'm not.
Good. And what was the last thing, or what's the most recent thing that's made you smile, Irving?
The most recent thing that's made me smile. Well, every day I maintain a gratitude journal.
Excellent.
That I write in the morning, and you'd be surprised some of the things that you'd be grateful for. Like the one time I wrote, I'm grateful for the air in the room,
Yeah.
and
No,
and
it's true.
that actually uh, keeps me happy, keeps my mood in a very very happy and positive state.
Well, you have passed the heartbeat round in Smart Digestion's class, so good for you.
Thank you.
All right, so let's kind of roll back into what we were first discussing. So, again, like I prefaced at the top of the show, I think it's imperative that people out there listening do their job at getting out there and just pouring through websites and with the age that we're in, we need to be researching things on our own and not just trusting anything the quote unquote doctor says. I'm always a big fan of that. Just because there's someone that has a doctorate or credentials does not mean that they're the authority. That's just how I've always felt. So take us back through when you were applying some of these things that you were researching, and then kind of share with everyone why you did it, what you've taken out of that as a result.
Well, the biggest things that I've learned leading up to this point, and learning, researching, and applying every day, almost for 3 years now. Um, the biggest thing is fasting. A lot of people, when they hear about fasting, they get really scared. They're like, "Oh no, does that mean I have to not eat for 40 days or for an entire day?" Um, the kind of fasting that I do is called intermittent fasting, where you basically skip breakfast and you only eat for a 6 to 8 hour window. So to give you an example, let's say you skip breakfast and you eat from 1 o'clock all the way to, I'd say 7 at the very latest. 7 o'clock should be your last bite, and then from there on you do the daily routine again. In the morning, you wake up. By the time you wake up, you've already fasted 12 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it's 1 o'clock again, um, it would have been like around 16 to 18 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole point of fasting is to get your body to switch from a carb burning mode to fat burning mode. Because there's a biological switch in your body that if you're constantly replenishing that fuel in your body with carbs and sugar, you never give your body the opportunity to burn. I think the official term or the term that nutritionists use is glycogen, your glycogen stores.
Mm-hmm.
So when you do that, and when you constantly eat, I would say like every 2 hours, every 3 hours, like the establishment recommends, you don't give your body the opportunity to burn that.
I love the fact that you referred to it as the establishment. That cracks me up. So I love that you fast. We barely know each other. I mean, anyone listening, I just explained how we met was via Twitter, and I just follow his tweets, and I invited him onto the show, and he was happy to oblige. So I fast also. I don't intermittent fast. I fast for like 7-8 days at a time, once a year.
That's funny you say that, because like I've shared it with other guys who are in I guess our type of community, and some of them have criticized me. They said, "Oh, that's not fasting. That's something else, but it's not fasting."
Yeah, and they don't get it, because fasting dates back to the biblical times and even beyond. I mean, even some of the famous mathematicians, Hippocrates, a famous doctor, but Pythagoras, whatever that guy's name is, those cats way back then, they wouldn't even teach their students. I don't know if you knew this. They wouldn't even teach their students until they fasted for 40 days, because they knew that by having them not eat, it created so much extra focus, and it got rid of all the garbage and toxicity, and it allowed them to have such more awareness to learn the great deal of content that they're about to consume. So there's so many benefits to fasting. It's very misunderstood. But what you're explaining is really easily done. This intermittent fasting is something that anybody can do and still hold down their job and not worry about passing out or any of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I love that you did that. So what were some of the immediate health benefits you noticed when you started to do that, Irv?
One of the biggest things is that it naturally produces growth hormones. Believe it or not, a lot of people think they have to take some sort of steroid or do something crazy to increase their growth hormone, but that's not true. Fasting can do that for you. I also noticed some increased clarity, increased levels of happiness. There's an exact science and studies that show that fasting affects the mitochondria in your cells. If you go back to the basics of biology, or if you remember back in biology class, the mitochondria is like a factory. It's like basically the power plant of the cells
Hmm.
that gives us energy. And fasting actually helps the mitochondria produce more energy. It's insane.
It's counterintuitive, isn't it? But again,
Yeah.
a fast really technically is a physiological rest. The digestive system has its own nervous system, and so when you stop eating, you allow the body to heal itself in a way that you can never ever accomplish by eating. So that's why the things that you're talking about make so much sense. People listening might be hard for them to get that, but it's the truth of knowing that when you're not eating, your body has a way greater chance to recover at a cellular level, like you're explaining. So that's awesome. So you saw some improvement in your clarity. Did you see that you gained more muscle tone?
Yes.
How about energy? How did you do with energy? Because this is the fascinating thing. People think they came in. They even came in like get their mind around the fact that you have more energy. So did you notice that?
Yes, I believe it or not, I now have childlike energy. For most people, it's a struggle to have enough energy. You know, they always get that drowsy feeling when they wake up, and then they get that drowsy feeling again after 2 p.m. or the 3 p.m. I guess they call it
Yeah.
the itis after eating.
Hmm.
Believe it or not, it's not normal. That
No.
something like that is not normal. People these days they think because it happens so often and every day, and everyone else is experiencing it, it must be normal. But that 2 o'clock, the 3 o'clock feeling is not normal. And fasting, the way that I do, has helped me eliminate that feeling,
I love
which
that.
is which is great. Another thing about fasting that I feel is important to mention, if you do decide to fast, diet is even more important. So a high quality diet is more important because if you fast and you have a poor diet, then it's kind of like you're trying to exercise with a broken leg.
Oh yeah, that's a good analogy. So let's get really specific about this, Irv. So let's say that you're doing this intermittent fasting. Take
Yeah.
take the listeners through what you're eating, the exact time that you take a break from eating, and then what you have after you wake up in the morning the next day.
An ideal would be um, your window to eat. An ideal time would be from 1 at the very latest 7 o'clock.
Okay.
So that should be your last bite. No snacks, no sugar, no nothing except for food, water, or tea. And none of those drinks should have sugar because sugar breaks the fast.
So
So
what are you eating between 1 and 7 then?
1 and 7, I eat a lot of. Well, before I say what I eat, I want to just preface by saying that everybody's body is a little different. So if you find a diet that you like and you see are giving you results, that's great. Stick with it, but never forget the wisdom that your body has. Just because a diet says something is good for you, and then you experience a very adverse effect or something wrong in your body, and your body keeps telling you over and over and over again in prolonged times, then you should listen to your body first and foremost, because no diet and no nutritionist and no person is smarter than your body. Your body has thousands of years of wisdom. So your body knows first and foremost. But with that being said, I my nutrition type, for those who aren't familiar with the term, nutrition type is in reference to whether you do better with more veggies and less meat, or more meat and less veggies, or 50-50. My nutrition type is 50-50, which is the hardest one because that one you kind of have to feel it out. You have to do a lot of trial and error and find the best the best portions that you feel your body feels good after eating. So the things that I eat a lot of coconut oil. Coconut oil is amazing for soups, making a really nice roast, for a steak. It's just great. And for those people who aren't familiar with coconut oil, some people would say, "Well, I don't want my food to taste like sweet coconut. That's just not for me. I want my meat to taste like meat." Well, believe it or not, the coconut oil has a very, very subtle flavor.
It does.
Even when you put a lot, it's not overpowering. It's not like it's not like a really strong herb or spice. It's more like a very subtle flavor, and it's amazing. It's great for. I highly recommend. It's great for baking. Great for your steaks. Great for your soups. It's just. I don't know if they consider it a superfood, but I certainly do.
And people need to understand too that coconut oil contains lauric acid, which is also found in breast milk. So, I mean, come on, coconut oil is good
I
stuff.
think in nature it's the only other food besides breast milk that has high lauric acid.
Yeah, and coconut oil is finally getting its due credit. It's from the medical profession, or the establishment, as I like how you put it,
Yeah,
have just ragged on coconut oil for the longest time. And Thailand is the number one consumer of coconut oil in the whole planet, and they have the best heart health. So all this nonsense about these types of fats clogging up your arteries is just bull.
yeah,
It's just bull.
it's nonsense.
It's nonsense.
So
So you have the coconut oil. You have like a steak or something like that. What kind of greens will you have with your between 1 and 7?
a lot of the greens that I eat are leafy greens. I try to incorporate different types of greens each week to see how my body reacts to it, and that's the number one thing that I've learned, by the way. Learning to observe how your body reacts to every food, learning to be self-aware of your energy levels, your mood, your clarity, your thinking, your focus, your strength, and just basically your thoughts too, because the digestive system is a second brain. A lot of people, when they hear that, they think, "What? That sounds crazy," but it's the truth. There are, I think, for 2 years now. I forget the doctor's name, but she has that. I think she's in South America or Central America. She has dedicated her entire life's work into proving that our gut is our second brain.
Well, it is.
It affects everything in our health.
It has its own nervous system, as you said. It's called the enteric nervous system. You have more neurons or nerve cells in your gut, your GI tract, than you do in your brain and spinal cord. I'm a
Yeah,
chiropractor. That's my first love. That blew me away when I learned that the GI tract has more nerve cells than your brain and spinal cord, and it
yeah,
absolutely has its own. It has its
and
own mind. The gut.
and there's a whole community of good bacteria and bad bacteria in there. And if your health is optimal, or to make your health optimal, you have to improve that ratio of good bacteria to bad bacteria, because the good bacteria is what helps break down the food that you eat, that you take in. It also helps you absorb the nutrients. It also regulates your mood, your energy levels, and your strength. Just it's so amazing how we've lived for so long with these bacteria. We've lived together with them, and they've evolved as we are.
Yeah, I'm looking at your icon on Skype, and I think this might be on your Twitter also, which we'll go ahead and just tell everybody listening right now what your Twitter handle is, Irving.
It's my first name, so it's Irving. Starts with an I, so it's IRVING. Then underscore Aquino. It's AQUINO. Which is funny, by the way, because the last name is a Spanish last name. If you translate it, it literally means not here.
Oh, really? Well, you're very much present, that's for sure. So anyways,
Yeah,
I'm looking at this icon, and he has a picture of a watermelon at day 1, and then 80 days later, how demented this poor watermelon looks. It's all destroyed from the enzyme activity and bacteria eating away at it. And then below that,
yeah.
he's got a cheeseburger or a hamburger from McDonald's on day 1, and then day 180 and fries, and they look exactly the same. So
Yeah, which is strange, because I remember seeing that picture when I was a lot younger. When I was I would say earlier than high school. I remember when that picture came out of the blogger who kept that burger. If I remember right, that McDonald's burger is from 1996.
Yeah,
And
I remember hearing about that too. Yeah, and underneath it says if bacteria will not eat it, why should you? I love it.
yeah, exactly.
So, wrapping up here, I just am fascinated how this conversation shifted toward the fasting. I think that's amazing. I want to ask you, what do your friends and family think of you with this radical thinking, radical in quotes, about how you're living your lifestyle? I mean, do you resonate with them? Do they resonate with you? Are you an odd duck? How do you?
I'm so glad you asked because this is probably the best question I've ever had. The first 2 years well, the first year was the biggest one with resistance. They kind of were like, why are you eating this way? Why this? Why that? Like everything I did, they questioned, which was a double-edged sword, right? Because I would be like, well, it's great that they're asking me because now I can respond to them my whys and I can reinforce or clarify my ideas. But it's also kind of a burden always having all this resistance.
Mhm.
Then the second year, they kind of started coming around even more because they observed. They saw. I didn't have to constantly bother them about eating better. They just had to see me. They saw the results. It was kind of self evident at that point. And then fast forward 2014, many of them have come around, with the exception of one sibling. She's completely the kind that the establishment really loves. Like
Oh yeah, I have a
you know, you
sibling.
know,
I have a sibling like that.
yeah, the kind that like let me have my McDonald's, let me have my pizza with GMOs,
Yeah,
let me.
I'm with you. I have a sister who doesn't think that chemtrails are problems.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So
that's a whole nother issue, right? We could. I'll have you back on the show, Irv. I think I might have you as a regular guest. We'll create some kind of a Irv the blankety blank correspondent. I don't know, but I love it. I love talking to you. And what I want to ask you is, people out there listening, what would be one easy tip that you could give them so that they could educate themselves? Where's a place for them to start? I mean, try to be as specific as you can. I know it's a really vague question, but the point is we need to get people more educated and aware of what's going on. I'm so impressed with you and so proud of you and the stance
thank
that you
you.
take. I mean, there just needs to be millions more like you, Irv. So what is something that is tangible for people listening that you would recommend that they could do to get some of the knowledge that you've accumulated? What can they do?
I think the biggest thing is to find good websites first and foremost. Some of the biggest websites that got me started off was Mercola, www.mercola.com.
Absolutely.
He has a lot of great info. Sometimes it can get real technical, but don't let that scare you.
Hmm.
That's the approach that I took with. I think that's just my personality. When I was like I told you earlier, when I was learning about finance, banking, and the economy, I never let the big words scare me. I would always stop myself in the middle of the reading and Google search what that word meant
Right.
so that I can understand it.
But they also want people to be intimidated by that. You have to understand that any prescription drug, they give these asinine names to because they want to try to sound smart. And so I
Yep,
think in part of the literature, that what they're trying to accomplish is to intimidate people from seeking further and getting the dictionary and looking it up or Google searching whatever it happens to be. So that's awesome.
absolutely.
So you like Mercola.com. Or do you have any others? And by the way, anyone listening, if we don't come up with more right here on air, I'll have them in the show notes. So is there anything else coming to mind about a website that really helped change your thinking?
You may also want to search the ketogenic diet, which is what I currently follow. It's spelled KETOGENIC.
Yep, I'll have that too. And that's where you're talking about the
Ketogenic
nutrition
diet.
types. You're getting that
Yep.
from that diet. Okay, we'll post that too. All right, Irv, parting thoughts before we say goodbye.
No, it's been great speaking to you. I'm surprised that all the things that you know, to be honest with you, especially uh, the fact that they use, the establishment uses that language to purposely confuse you. Couldn't have said it better myself. And thank you so much for having me on the show. I had a lot of fun myself, believe it or not.
Yeah, well, I had a blast. So, Irving, people again can find your Twitter handle, which is Irving_Aquino. Go ahead and check him out on Twitter. Do you have a Facebook page, or do you not wanting people to follow you? I mean, because you might be famous now.
No, I'm
All
not
four
a,
of my
not a
listeners
big
might
fan of
follow you.
Facebook.
Okay, cool. All right, Irving. Well, I appreciate you being here. You're just so inspiring. I absolutely love it, and I really mean it. I might think of a position for you where we check in once a month, or who knows how much to have you add your input here, because it's absolutely valuable. So thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Take care.
You too. Wow, I am so inspired to know that there are people out there just doing their thing, seeking out the truth like Irving Aquino is. Such an inspiration, such a breath of fresh air. Really enjoyed talking to him. Let me know what you think. Should I have Irving as a regular guest commentator on Smart Digestion Radio? I bet you will say yes to that. So, great guy. I hope you enjoyed this. Check out the show notes for all the information about what we discussed about fasting, ketogenic diet, Dr. Mercola's website, mercola.com. That one's easy, but check over the show notes. And you can find the show notes at thedigestiondoctor.com/8. Thank you for taking the time listening to Smart Digestion Radio. It means everything to me. I appreciate you guys. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to Smart Digestion Radio with Dr. Christine Kaczmar. Have the most beautiful day.